When Motown Records finances appeared to be dwindling in the late 70s, this artist stepped in and saved the label, giving funky successes that altered the label style and carried it into the mid 80s. This performer had a previous experience with Motown under a different identity, but nothing came of it. This man was a terrific hitmaker, a soulful vocalist, an electrifying performer, a prominent producer, an impresario, and a forerunner in combining funk rhythm with rock attitude. Flamboyant, provocative, charming, unpredictable, and always outrageous, he was a superb artist and a bona fide star. Though most known for irresistible funk jams, his imprint may be seen not just on the charts but also in his artistic accomplishments as a composer and songwriter. This performer created a slew of appealing songs, ranging from club bangers to beautiful ballads, all performed with passion and fire. On stage, he was a sequin powerhouse who captivated the audience with frenetic, dramatic, sexually charged performances while controlling the stage with ruthless force. The centerpiece of today's video is all about Rick James. Before we start, let's be sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and push the notification bell to be sure you won't miss on any more uploads. Now without further ado, let's cue that intro. Born James Ambrose Johnson Jr. on February 1st, 1948 in Buffalo, New York to Mabel and James Ambrose Johnson Sr., he was one of 8 children. He was an altar boy and choir member at St. Bridget's Catholic Church. James's father, an auto worker, left the family when James was 10. His mother was a dancer for Catherine Dunham and later worked as a cleaner during the day and as a numbers runner for the Buffalo crime family at night to earn a living. James was connected to the music world at birth as the nephew of Temptations singer Melvin Franklin. In an impulsive moment at age 15, he joined the Navy. Justifiably overwhelmed, he went AWOL and took refuge in Canada in 1964. Soon after his arrival, 3 inebriated guys attempted to assault him outside a bar. A trio of other men intervened. One of them, Levon Helm, was once a part of Ronnie Hawkins' backup band. Helm invited James to their gig later that night, and he ended up playing on stage alongside the band. To avoid U.S. military officials, James went by the name Ricky James Matthews. He created his first band in Canada, the Minor Birds, a rock soul collective that combines soul folk and rock music. In 1965, the band briefly recorded for Columbia Records' Canadian branch, producing the single Minor Bird Hop. Nick St. Nicholas, later of Steppenwolf renown, was formerly a member by the time Minor Bird Hop was recorded. Bassist Bruce Palmer had taken his place. James and Palmer assembled a new Minor Birds group, including guitarist Tom Morgan and Xavier Taylor and drummer Rick Mason, and headed to Detroit to record with Motown. Morgan quit before the group began recording their first tracks for the label, dissatisfied with the label's treatment of the musicians. And Neil Young finally took his position. While in Detroit, James met his musical heroes Marvin Gaye and Stevie Wonder. After meeting Wonder and giving him his name, Wonder thought Ricky James Matthews was too long and advised James to reduce it to Ricky James. In 1966, a financial disagreement in Toronto between James and the Minor Birds handler, Morley Shellman, led Motown to learn about James' Navy fugitive status. To avoid any attention, Motown executives informed Rick that they would not be releasing any more of his recordings and persuaded him to return and work with them after his legal difficulties were resolved. James turned himself in to the FBI and the Navy sentenced him to 5 months of hard labor for unauthorized absence in May 1966. He wasn't yet 19 years old. James escaped from the Brooklyn Naval Brig after only 6 weeks of captivity, but after another 6 months as a fugitive, he surrendered again. With the support of his mother, James sought legal counsel from his cousin, future Congressman Louis Stokes, and another attorney, former Marine Captain John Bracken, who reduced James's second court-martial sentence from 5 years hard labor to 5 months. After being released from Portsmouth Naval Prison in August 1967, James went to Toronto and was detained again, delaying the continuation of his career with Mighty Bird bandmate Neil Merriweather, with whom he would eventually collaborate first at Motown, then in Los Angeles. James produced and composed songs for the Miracles, Bobby Taylor and the Vancouvers, and the Spinners at Motown in 1968. During his third stay at Motown, James met musician Greg Reeves. With Reeves, expecting to find a better situation than the $38 per week, equivalent to $769 today. He was making money as a session bassist for Berry Gordy when he joined James, hoping to hitch a lift from Neil Young's Rising Star and move to Los Angeles. On one of his first evenings in Los Angeles, James crashed on singer Stephen Still's sofa. When he awakened, he noticed a stoned young guy seated on the floor in the lotus posture. The man's wrists were bleeding, so a terrified James sought assistance. James was later formally introduced to Jim Morrison, the Doors' lead vocalist. After the Doors opened for Buffalo Springfield at the Whiskey A Go-Go, Morrison duped James into ingesting acid. In California, James began working as a pair with Greg Reeves, but after introducing Reeves to Neil Young, Reeves, not James, was chosen as bassist for the newly formed rock group Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. Around this period, James founded several iterations of the rock band Salt and Pepper. James stated that in 1969, friend and hairdresser Jay Sebring asked him to a party at actress Sharon Tate's house, but James was too inebriated to leave his bed. The next morning, he discovered that Sebring had been unalive when he saw the Los Angeles Times headline. In 1970, James and Salt and Pepper member Ed Roth participated in a recording of Bruce Palmer's solo album, The Cycle Is Complete. The duo also recorded as part of the group Heaven and Earth in Toronto. Heaven and Earth eventually changed their name to Great White Cane and recorded a self-titled album for the Los Angeles label Lion Records, released in 1972. James formed another band, Hot Lips, afterwards. He also briefly replaced Mendelssohn Joe in the Toronto blues band McKenna Mendelssohn Mainline. During this period, James and mainline guitarist Mike McKennico wrote the song You Make the Magic, which would later be released by the Chambers Brothers. In 1973, he signed with A&M Records under the name Rick James. The first track, My Mama, debuted in 1974 and became a club smash in Europe. In 1976, James returned to Buffalo to create the Stone City Band. And shortly after, he recorded his second song, Get Up and Dance. In 1977, James and the Stone City Band got a deal with Motown's Gordy Records label and began recording their debut album in New York City and Los Angeles. In April 1978, James released his debut solo album, Come Get It. The album included the top 20 smash You and I, which became his first #1 R&B single. The album also featured the smash track Mary Jane. It eventually sold 1 million copies, catapulting James' musical career to prominence while also benefiting Motown Records at a time when the label's fortunes were dwindling. In early 1979, James' second album, Bustin' Outta L7, continued the success of his first album, hitting the top 20 of the Billboard 200 and #2 on the R&B album charts. In late 1979, the third album, Fired Up, was released. Around the same time, James embarked on his first headlining tour, the Fired Up Tour, and agreed to have Prince, an up-and-coming performer, and vocalist Tina Marie open for him. The tour resulted in the commencement of a lifetime animosity between Rick James and Prince.
Despite this, every one of Rick's albums went gold or platinum. Along the road to success, Rick met up with an unknown who later became his warm-up act, Prince. The rivalry between the two deepened when the unknown became bigger than the star.
I was very probably upset with him more than anything, and, like any artist, man, I mean, who comes in, then another artist, comes up and kind of like, all of a sudden, all this, you got all this adulation from people and stuff, and then all of a sudden you get this other artist who's getting that same thing. I mean, if there was jealousy, there's going to be jealousy. I mean, it's like a natural thing. I don't think it's anything weird out of any musician. I think when a musician who's been in business as long as I have, you're going to see these things happen. Mm-hmm. And I managed to be one to go through it. I mean, you know, and I really don't know. I mean, me and him talk now, and we've already decided his differences, and we've already decided mine. I mean, and that's what I think men should do. Last time I saw him, I said, "Yo, man, what's happening?"
After the tour ended in 1980, James released the ballad Heavy, Garden of Love, which was a relative disappointment, peaking at number 83 on the Billboard 200. In 1981, James released his best-selling album to date, Street Songs, which, like his previous four, was a theme album. Street Songs featured a fusion mix of different genres, including rock and new wave, as well as James's brand of crossover funk, enabling James's own style of punk funk. The album featured hit singles such as Ghetto Life, the Tina Marie duet Fire and Desire, Give It To Me Baby, and his biggest crossover hit to date, Super Freak, which peaked at number 16 on the Billboard Hot 100 and sold over 1 million copies in the United States. Street Songs peaked at number 1 on the R&B charts and number 3 on the pop charts and sold over 4 million copies worldwide. Following that success, James released 2 successive gold-certified albums, 1982's Throwing Down and 1983's Cold Blooded. During this era, when Prince also became successful as a producer of other bands such as Time. In Vanity 6, James launched the X Process and the Do-Rags, and the Mary Jane Girls, utilizing his previous background singer Joanne JoJo McDuffie as the main vocalist and background performer, finding success with the latter group due to the hits All Night Long, Candyman, and In My House. In 1982, James produced the Temptations' top 10 R&B hit, Stand on the Top. In 1983, James recorded the hit duet, Ebony Eyes, with singer Smokey Robinson, as well as a ballad, Tell Me What You Want, with an introduction by Billy D. Williams. In 1985, James produced another hit for entertainer Eddie Murphy with the song Party All the Time. That same year, he appeared on an episode of The A-Team with Isaac Hayes. After the release of his ninth solo album, The Flag, in 1986, James signed with Warner Bros. Records, which released the album Wonderful in 1988, featuring the hit Lucy's Rap. James' unconventional and provocative persona became bothersome at times, famous for promoting marijuana use live in concerts at a time when simple possession could result in a long prison sentence. James was frequently threatened by cops in various cities that he would be arrested if he smoked marijuana on stage during performances of songs like Fired Up and Mary Jane. According to Kerry Gordy, most Motown execs believed the latest song was a simple, cute love song to a girl, unaware that it was about drugs. James's over-sexual confidence made it difficult for him to become a more popular act. After the debut of the fledgling music video network MTV in August 1981, James tried to present the music video for Super Freak to the network, only to have it rejected, and James accused the network of racism. MTV denied this, stating the real reason Super Freak was turned down by MTV was because they felt James's video was too vulgar for the channel. When younger artists such as Michael Jackson and Prince found fame on the channel, James accused the two singers of being tokens in a 1983 interview, demanding that any black artist who had a video aired on MTV take their video off the channel in protest. James's rant was co-signed by David Bowie, who argued with MTV VJ Mark Goodman about the lack of black artists being featured on the channel despite the successes of Jackson and Prince.
Blacks and MTV is the subject of our next report. Sam Ford, CBS News, New York.
Black musicians are complaining that they are being left out of the video market, specifically the music, television, cable operation. Sam Ford looks into that in this final report of his two-part series.
The American recording industry essentially divides rock and roll music into two basic categories, white rock and black rhythm and blues.
We are looking for a certain sound and a certain point of view.
Bob Pittman is the 29-year-old whiz kid who created MTV after a successful career as a radio station program director. He sees little difference between radio and cable.
We are not all things to all people. We are cable television, and what cable television does best is specialize. One thing per channel. So you know exactly what you're getting when you turn on the channel.
That's Human League with fascination. I don't know.
To MTV, this is a matter of following a traditional FM radio rock format. But to black recording artists like Rick James, whose videos have been rejected by MTV, it's an example of racism.
You know, this isn't the Wizard of Oz. I mean, there are black people here, and we make music. And we spend thousands, $100,000 on videos. And we're not doing this for the sake of because we enjoy doing it. We're doing it because it's part of the art. And we're being excluded from the art.
But black-owned companies such as Solar, with its top artists Shalimar and the Whispers, are frustrated because there is no regular outlet for their videos.
MTV has been so important now because they have the only ball game in town. And it has been found that once your video is played on MTV, there's great exposure, and automatically people start going out and buying the records. They have great influence with the record buying public. And many artists that have never been heard of before get their video on MTV and their overnight success.
Promotion managers for black-owned companies have yet to get a video on MTV.
I was hoping that they would at least accept the song for the song and the creativity for the creativity.
It's very frustrating having the experience, especially when you have artists that totally mass appeal, like what Motown has, for instance, the Rick James, the Lionel Richies that we have.
And industry giants like CBS Records are less willing to invest money in videos for many of their black artists than for their white artists.
How much bang do you get for your buck? But I think it's almost like any other business that is run in America, until you can present your product to enough people that I think you have a problem in terms of trying to decide how much you should spend.
Principal charges in the racism debate have been exchanged between singer Rick James and MTV's Bob Pittman.
Not playing his particular sound and his particular songs, and that is a problem for him, and one that I recognize, and I'd love to play Rick James on MTV if he did a rock and roll song.
I mean, there are a lot of white kids that put on MTV and say, yeah, where's Stevie Wonder? Where's Marvin Gaye? Where's Rick James? You know, where are all these acts? Next to my Billy Joel record is Rick James, and next to my Van Halen record, there's Earth, Wind and Fire, and next to my AC/DC record, there's maybe Aretha Franklin, Diana Ross or something. Where are these people? I mean, don't we exist?
In the past few months, MTV has increased the number of black videos it programs to include Michael Jackson and Prince, whom Pittman insists have changed their styles from rhythm and blues to rock and roll.
Night Tracks. 6 solid hours of the hottest rock, pop, rhythm, and blues.
Producers of new video programs on NBC and Ted Turner's WTBS have announced up front they will program both black and white rock and roll. Sam Ford, CBS News, New York.
James finally appeared on MTV a couple of years later with Murphy's music video to Party All the Time.
Eddie Murphy has been in Buffalo for almost a week. Most of that time has been spent inside Rick James' recording studio. The pair planned to produce Murphy's first singing single. Their plans were helped when the area was hit with the worst snowstorm of the year.
We've been snowed in for 4 days. I have not left the house since I got here.
Being confined to the studio actually helped the duo all but complete the new 45, entitled Party All the Time. The challenge to award-winning punk-funk king Rick James was to find Eddie Murphy's style.
Well, he's got his own style. He has his own sound. I mean, he has a very pleasant. I mean, it's like it's almost like a kid singing. You know, I mean, he's only 22 anyway, so that youthfulness is still in his voice. You know that.
Murphy is as excited as Slick Rick about the sound they've developed.
Did you ever envision the sound that's coming out of the speakers? I didn't think it would come out like that. I was scared when we first came here, but now I'm like this. Did you hear the record?
In Buffalo, John Bowman reporting.
James' 11th album, Kickin', was only available in the United Kingdom in 1989. By 1990, James had lost his contract with Reprise, Warner Bros., and he was suffering with personal and legal issues. That year, MC Hammer produced his smash trademark song, You Can't Touch This, which used a major opening riff from Super Freak. James and his Super Freak co-writer, Alonzo Miller, sued Hammer for joint composition credit, and all three won the Grammy Award for Best R&B Song in 1991. James released Urban Rhapsody in 1997, his first album since being freed from jail on assault charges, and toured to promote it. That year, he spoke about his life and work in interviews for the VH1 musical documentary series Behind the Music, which premiered in early 1998. James' musical career halted again when he suffered a mild stroke after a concert in 1998.
MRKD. G.
Excellent.
Is that good?
Yeah, that's good.
This is the rehab center at Northridge Hospital, about the last place you'd expect to find a funk star.
How's the dizziness?
Like on the Titanic.
He looks a lot different now than the way most of us remember him. Rick James made his first gold record, You and I, back in 1978. 3 years later, he shot to superstardom with the 1981 blockbuster Super Freak.
She's a super freak, super freak, she's super freaking now.
You've done a lot, Ray. Yeah, what a career. I look at that as accomplishments I made in life, you know?
You bet.
I mean, I can look at that stuff and say, yeah, I mean, I really did do something.
Lately, that thought's been especially comforting. It's been a treacherous couple of months.
It was very tough. It was very, very tough.
2.5 months ago, after a concert in Denver, something happened that would change Rick James forever.
I was just engulfed, not by pain, but just by the loss of control and dizziness.
It was unlike anything he'd ever experienced, even during the wildest of times.
During the days when I was really drugging a lot and stuff, you know, drinking and drugging, there was times when I would OD, you know, but this time was really different. There was something about this time that made it exceptional. My brain couldn't tell my feet to function.
3 days later, back in Los Angeles, Rick found out why.
He suffered the death of a part of his brain. He suffered a brain attack or a stroke.
I said, oh no.
All right, let's do some of the backwards walking. Have you been practicing?
It's painful it's painful mentally when you find you're like a child and things that really came natural to you before, like walking or balancing yourself, become really kind of like, you know, wow, I can't do that anymore.
Rick's stroke happened after he burst an artery in the back of his neck. When the artery broke, blood flow was stopped to areas of his brain responsible for balance, coordination, muscle control, and vision.
Once you have damaged those brain cells, and once they die, they do not reproduce themselves. And so what we hopefully will be able to do is to have new pathways to develop and train other areas of the brain to take over.
And that's what rehab is all about. It isn't easy.
Need a break? Do you need a break, or are you okay?
You feel really susceptible. You feel really alone. You feel really scared. You feel really frightened.
But by all accounts, Rick's progress has been impressive.
He's been blessed with such a determination and so much courage to withstand everything that he's been through.
Not to mention the long, hard road that lies ahead, along with physical therapy 3 times a week. Rick is undergoing occupational therapy to get his mind and his body working in sync again.
Does it feel good? Does it feel easy?
Mm-hmm.
Smooth?
Most important thing is keeping a positive attitude. And most important is looking at his current level of function and realize that it is not quite the same as it was prior to the stroke, but it's improving, and it's improving every day.
Dr. William Young says because he's had one stroke, Rick's now at an increased risk of having another, one that could kill him or leave him profoundly disabled. A 1993 prison sentence for drug-related assault charges brought an end to Rick's notorious drug use. But he admits there were other vices he needed to abandon.
I mean, I don't smoke cigarettes anymore. I can't eat fried foods. Chicken's out, southern fried chicken, and the Colonel is like out the door.
So how does a man with such decadent appetite stay on the straight and narrow?
One thing about Rick is he wants to live. I mean, I don't want to die anymore. I mean, there was a time when I think I had a death wish, you know, and I never wanted to go out like this. All right, Alan, let's see if you got any Minnesota facts on you.
Yeah, right.
Rick's got a new movie coming out in April, a wife he adores, and a 6-year-old son he plans to finish raising. As for the future,
first thing on my agenda is to beat this. Performing is all on, is all second thought. It's something I really want to do. It's something I really look forward to. It's something I will do again. But this is first. And I know I'm going to beat this, because I already see it. So I don't look for too long before I'll be out there playing funky music again and having a good time.
He collaborated with Ike Turner on the song Love Gravy for the 1998 soundtrack album Chef Aid, the South Park album. James agreed to feature in Eddie Murphy's comedy drama Life. After years out of the spotlight, James appeared in a comedic skit on Chappelle's Show in early 2004 in a piece called Charlie Murphy's True Hollywood Stories. James and Murphy told amusing recollections about their time together in the early 80s. During the skit, James' character, performed by Dave Chappelle, says the now famous line, "I'm Rick James, bitch." James interspersed the sketches by justifying his previous actions with the remark cocaine is a hell of a drug. Following his appearance on the show, James had a career resurrection. In May 2004, he joined Tina Marie on her tour for her album La Donna, performing at the KBLX Stone Soul Picnic at Pioneer Amphitheater in Hayward, California. James made his final public appearance and performed at the 4th annual BET Awards on June 29, 2004. He did a live version of Fire and Desire with Tina Marie. James confronted a female backstage who didn't know him, shouting,
"Oh yeah, and for the girl backstage, and for that girl backstage, make it perfectly clear. Never mind who you thought I was. I'm Rick James."
On the morning of August 6, 2004, James' caregiver discovered him deceased in his Los Angeles residence at the Oakwood Toluca Hills community outside Burbank. He was 56 years old. James passed away as a result of pulmonary and cardiac failure, which were caused by his diabetes, stroke, pacemaker, and heart attack. His autopsy revealed the presence of numerous prescription drugs as well as cocaine in his blood. However, the coroner concluded that none of the drugs or drug combinations were found to be at levels that were life-threatening in and of themselves. At the time of his passing, James was working on an autobiography called The Confessions of Rick James, Memoirs of a Super Freak, as well as a new record. Colossus Books ultimately released the book in 2007 and included a photo of his tombstone. Noted music journalist biographer David Ritz, who was hired by James to work on the book alongside him, later stated that this edition did not accurately represent how the artist wished to be depicted. Ritz re-edited Glow, the autobiography of Rick James, and released it in 2014. Rick James' genius was defined by his constant striving for growth and exploration of new facets of his gift. Since bursting onto the scene in the late 70s with his own style of punk-funk music, he has inspired his colleagues and received recognition from both fans and reviewers. James passed much too young, yet his legacy continues to inspire new generations of artists to embrace their inner super freak. Now, before we go, I have a question for you all. What is your favorite song from Rick James?